This part's gonna cover the score manager and the sound manager. Just make sure. Okay. So start with the score. So here is the command score base class. It does use the command pattern. So here we'll go with here's the score value. It uh, inherits from the command score class, and it has an execute function. It has the value to create it. So show that here. When it gets created, it gets assigned the point value. Then when it gets executed, it adds the score with the appropriate with its value. Um, Go into the score manager. Here we go, the score manager. All the appropriate point values. It is a singleton. I've got a queue for the score commands. Then here's the enums for the score events. And then the function to add the score, get the commands. Show the code off. So here's the get score command function. Depending on the score event, it'll get the appropriate score command. Then it's just a switch. Uh, when it adds the score, uh, it'll add that score to the player. It'll call the add score function in the player manager, and the player manager will add the score to the player. Here's the send command. It just pushes the commands to the queue. When it processes the score, it goes through the queue and just executes them. And the execute is just adding the score to the score man or calling the score add score function in the score manager. Then here's the terminate. Okay. And then for the sound, it also uses a command pattern, but it also uses the strategy pattern as well. Get into that. So this is for the strategy pattern. Here's the base class that I have. It has the send play command, stop command, uh, empty, and then play and sound, play and stop sounds. So here is the class muted sound class, inherits from the sound base class. This is for the strategy pattern and same functions. And then here's the other one, the unmuted sound class. Same thing. Except for the muted sound, its functions don't do anything. So when it gets sent a command, it basically gets ignored, doesn't do anything with it. Unlike with the unmuted sound, it will actually do something. I'll show that. So with the unmuted, actually, it has its cues to play for the play commands and stop commands. Okay, so yeah, the sends are pretty simple. The empty is the cues of any commands that might be in them. Then with the play sound, it'll go through the play queue and play any sounds or play any sounds that are in there. Same thing with the stop. Okay, and then it'll go into the sound manager itself. Sound manager is a singleton. Uh, has these play function, stop function, mute, unmute. Uh, then here are the actual sounds itself, the sound events, then all the static functions. So when a sound manager gets created, it'll create a muted sound class, an unmuted sound class, and it has a sound mode pointer, which is a sound base pointer. And it gets set to the muted. It sets the volume and the sounds so they're appropriate, or it sets the buffers for the sounds as well. When it gives a sound command, it's very similar to the score. Let's see. For the send play command, it actually calls it calls the sound mode pointer, and then it calls the send play command for that pointer. So in the case of the muted, sound class and it's not going to do anything. With unmuted, it'll actually play the sound. And same thing with the stop. With the process sounds, it calls the play sounds function and stop sounds function for the sound mode, depending on if it's unmuted or muted. Then when the sound manager is muted, it'll stop any sounds that are in there that are in the queues. It'll empty the queues of any plays. Then it'll set the sound mode pointer to the muted pointer. With the unmuted, it just sets it to the unmuted for the pointer, and then here's the terminate. And yep, that is it for score and sound. They just both use the command pattern.